I'm excited.
Why's that?
We have an apparel sponsor, Parry Athletic. Such good gear, and it's incredible. I've been enjoying it.
Bro, George came through, messaged us on the Instagram, said he's been following our program for ages. He's getting stronger and more mobile. And he's got this cool gear company called Parry, and he wants to send us some stuff.
And he told me that his mission was to create the best pair of training shorts ever.
Yeah, he wanted something that he could lift and roll in, and that could accommodate thick, muscular thighs and hips.
And that suits us.
Speaks to us.
Also, what I like is I love the colorful design. It actually looks really cool.
I am the most colorful dude on the mats these days, hands down.
Yeah, you get that kind of expression feel. A lot of other jiu-jitsu gear is kind of a bit boring.
Yeah, it's all like
comparison.
grays and blacks and shit. This stuff is the color and the vibrancy.
It makes you stand out. And I think the thing that I've loved about it is just it feels good. It feels good. It looks good. And you, ladies and gentlemen, can get a discount when you go to checkout. If you go to parryathletics.com, when you go to checkout, put in the code Bulletproof20 and you get 20% off. Oh, yeah. Question time. The boys respond. You ask, we answer. What you got, Jules?
Jack asks, hey boys, I'm sure you have answered this question in the past. What do you feel is more important to injury prevention, assuming no prior injuries? Strength training or stretching? Obviously both, but would you say focus 40-60 strength training or like 80-20 stretching strength?
My guy, good question. So I actually responded to Jackass through the Instagram. My advice was, and you might have an additional take on this, was I asked him, like, where are you at? I'm like, are you strong? Are you flexible? He's like I'm a bit of both. And I was like, rate your strength 1 to 10. And I think he was like, I'm like a 7 or an 8. And I'm like, what about your flexibility? And he's like, 4. I'm like, well, I'd say probably bias like 50-50. You know, it sounds like you don't need to, like, it sounds like the thing that's probably the handbrake for you is your lack of flexibility. Work on that, get that to a point, and then your strength's going to shine.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think the difficulty is we don't like to admit how bad we are at a thing.
Yeah.
But we love to admit how good we are at a thing.
Yeah, and we love to train that thing.
We do, yeah, because it feels good. And so essentially...
so good.
Oh, my God. I this is why I say, Jack, honestly, some joints don't need a massive... Like, I was really shocked. I went to a seminar which was about kind of injury prevention for football players. And I was like, oh, don't they need to stretch their shoulders? And the guy was like, no, they don't. He's like, they need to be tight and stiff because they're just running into each other. And I was like, wow, I'd never heard that before because I'd always thought, he's like, nah, sports specific, we need their shoulders to be tight. We don't want their shoulders to dislocate. We just want them to be rocks and concuss each other. I'm not saying this is the case for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but what I'm saying is if we look at where your biggest red flag is, it's usually where you're most inflexible. That's where the joint is usually least healthy, if that makes sense.
Or most weak.
Or most weak, true.
Right?
That's true.
But we tend, if we're on the mat, we tend not to be weak in a position that we can comfortably get into.
Sure.
Right? You would.
Sure. Yeah. So we can't just know off the top of our heads, but if you do a little bit of self-analysis and you're like, where do I suck more? You will have greater bandwidth and greater tolerance for stress if you have a better range of motion than if you have none, like if you have very little. In the same way, if you've got great range of motion but no control, then you're open to injury, so you need to develop some control. Like Joey said, we want to balance it out, but it's up to you to know where you suck the most.
Yeah, thinking about footy players, like that rock thing, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But jiu-jitsu is the art of leverage.
It is.
And so you might, and we know a lot of grapplers who are like that. You're like, you might be on their back and you're like, I can't get anything here, right? Or they're balled up. You're like, I got nothing. But if I've got like a half Nelson on that full, like I'm going to be able, like even though they've got strong shoulders,
it'll move the whole body.
I'm going to be able to lever their head and lift their arm until their shoulder is massively compromised.
Yes.
In order to turn them over. So the thing there is that your weakness will probably be exposed, won't it?
It will. And the reason why I mentioned the football thing is I had never imagined that you wouldn't want a joint to be fully open or fully healthy or whatever.
Yeah.
But
fit for the job.
Yeah, that's right. You need to have your tool ready for the right job.
Jules.
Nathan says, hey guys, love the pod. Could y'all help me understand how to know my lineage? I'm only 3 months in, and so taking the fundamental classes taught by purple and brown belts. But the gym is owned by a well-known UFC guy. I assume it's not as simple as learn his and then that's mine.
Yeah, look, lineage...
If you listen to the podcast, obviously your lineage starts with us. So it's Joey and Jake. That'd be the first photo in your dojo.
Hang those photos up.
Then, obviously your coach is under us.
Sure.
Right.
It's all about authority. No, I think lineage has mattered less recently, but that's not to say it's not good to understand how all the family trees work. There's a lot of information out there. This is what I'd say. Your lineage is who you learn from. The great thing about jiu-jitsu is the internet is, it's opened up. You can learn from anyone. You can technically be Gordon Ryan's student and not train with him. You can learn his techniques, right? That didn't used to be the case. You used to have to learn from the belts above you, your coach, and his coach's coach, his master. That was really important. I don't think that is quite as important as it is today. Here's the thing. If you're worried about who you get your belt from and what your lineage is, you can ask your teacher, brown or purple or whatever their belt, who gave you your belt? And then if they're a black belt, you can ask them who gave them their black belt. Like
the internet will tell you, once you get above your coach, you probably just find
it's usually pretty easy to find out.
But yeah, I think I'm thinking for now, he's like, how does it work? It's pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah.
Whoever gives you your belt or would be the person that will eventually give you your belt, whichever the black belt is in your academy, that's like your daddy.
Yep.
And then whoever gave them their black belt, that's your granddaddy.
Yeah.
And then whoever and it might be a grandmummy.
Grandmummy.
Right? But that's basically how it works. It really is just a line.
Sure. But like I said, you can learn from anybody. So you might have got most of your game from someone else, but you may not be claiming them as your lineage.
Yeah.
Rainier Van Ramshorts asks,
that is a great name.
Isn't that the guy that Cade fought recently?
I don't
Or Tub?
have you noticed all female black belts date only black belts?
What? What? I don't.
Damn, that's a generalist statement.
Wow,
like,
that's huge.
Do you know
Do I
all female
notice?
black belts?
No, did you notice?
Have you noticed all female black belts date only black belts?
Yeah, well, I don't think any of us know all female black belts and who they're dating.
No.
But if that's in a magazine, let me know because I want to get a subscription to that shit. What do we know? We know that Gazzardi's dating Bruno Malfacini. That's basically as much as I know about
I don't
who's
know.
dating who.
I don't know because I guess I'm not really paying attention, right?
When young Joey wanted to be a surfer,
Yes.
right, and I lived in San Diego for a little bit, and I lived at Bondi Beach here in Sydney for a little bit, and I was surfing and trying to do the thing, and I was a kook, right? I was not a good surfer, and I noticed that the hot surfer chicks only ever dated guys that could surf.
Right.
And I was like, damn, so hot. I'm like, I got no chance. Yeah, it makes total sense to me.
Sure.
There's kind of some sort of hierarchy, and you kind of rub shoulders
and you
with.
think, oh,
you know,
admire
and you're
their
like,
skill.
yeah, and you obviously value the thing because that's the thing you do.
Sure.
And put a a lot of your life into it, and so it makes sense that someone who's also putting a lot of their life into that thing would be appealing to you.
Sure.
So in a way, I'm like, well, yeah, it kind of makes sense. Like to be a black belt, and I'm guessing that this person is referring to their name. It's incredible.
It's
Ram
amazing.
Shorts. But like he's probably talking about, or she's probably talking about the female black belts that we see in the media, which are like the famous ones.
Sure.
And well, it makes sense that they're going to be dating other kind of famous ones.
Maybe. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think Kira Gracie's married to just like a Rio millionaire. I don't think he's a jiu-jitsu guy at all.
Doesn't have a black belt.
No, but he's got that black belt and money. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's the thing. Like Michelle Nicolini, she's single. I mean, she dated Robert Drysdale. I think they were meant to get married. She was with Robert Drysdale.
Do you know that she's
for
single
years.
as of the time of recording?
Yeah.
What magazine are you reading, bro?
No, we're friends. We're friends. Like I'd see her life. Like she's a mate of mine. You know,
Right.
she's awesome, and she dated a purple belt, by the way, when she was a black belt world champion. So there's an exception to the rule. But I think it's one of those things that. Are you saying? My question to the listener would be: are you asking this because you're a frothy blue belt trying to take a crack at
How'd I get there?
female black belt?
It's like John from San Diego. You just need the fucking TV and the convertible, and then all of the women are yours.
And the crockpot.
Yeah.
Can't speak on that.
Man, that's question time for this week. Thanks, fam.
Peace.
The questions come through Instagram, YouTube. Send them to us, and if they're good, we'll feature them on the show.
Yes, sir.